Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Mitchell with the Wii Comic Book Hour. This time we've got a few holdovers from, I think a couple holdovers from last week that I already possibly even further back. Um, was Didn't pick up the last couple Lazarus Planet one shots as they dropped for didn't catch them on the shelf or whatever. Anyway, so we'll kick things off with Lazarus Planet Dark Fate. So, Lazarus Planet. During Batman and Robin's fight with one another on Lazarus Island, the entire island exploded into a giant Lazarus volcano, and there's Lazarus rains falling the world over. People are getting powers. Some people with powers are finding their powers changed. Yeah, magic is also on the fritz. So, just like the other one shots, we've got a handful of stories. First off, got Whisper of the Moth featuring Huntress. She goes to Arkham Tower to investigate things. First, she deals with Automatopoeia. Then comes the Monarch of Menace. They'll claim to hear a whisper. There's the Cavalier, the Zodiac Master, eventually leading to Killer Moth, who was briefly exposed to the Lazarus Reigns, and so Killer Moth initially branded himself as being kind of a protector of Gotham's criminals. Batman for the bad guys. Now he's doing something more. But Huntress defeats him, saves the day. But some of the rain got into another cell. Whose cell? We don't know. Which brings us to our next story, focusing on the Doom Patrol. A general has called them in. Lazarus Reigns affected one of his men, and so they get called in to help because, well, everyone they've sent in from the base hasn't come back. They make their way in. They have to deal with bugs and clowns. Negative Man goes deeper in and discovers that the basically the soldier that was exposed to the rain has become a basically living fungus, but it doesn't react well to the negative spirit. So the negative spirit rejoins with Negative Man and goes in to talk to the source and manages to calm him down. Now, an arrangement that had been made with the commander of the base was that they get to take the source of all this and take care of them. But yeah, the base commander is like, nah, we're gonna. This is a hell of a weapon that we just got, and we're keeping that. And the guy figures that Niles Calder is still the chief, but the chief is now Black Alice. And so, with their new charge, the Doom Patrol leaves. General figuring he hasn't got as far as he has in life, especially in the military, without knowing when to pick his battles. Then our next tale "8 Seconds of Still Force." So a couple of cosplayers who reenact the Flash fighting the Turtle at Badlands Station. They get exposed to Lazarus Reigns. And as does another local. But they're able to redirect. One was able to redirect some of the power into himself, but it's more than he can handle. And they kind of did get. One of them did pick up the turtle's whole bit with the slow force, as it were. So Flash shows up and helps the two of them. One of them taking on the name Circuit Breaker, but she offers to help, and that's where the issue ends. That's where the story ends. Fine. Then we've got. I think this is the last story. Yeah, a Spirit World story. Young man goes to. A young woman shows up in the cemetery near Gotham's Chinatown. There are vampires on the loose. She does what she can to take them on, and Batgirl, Cassandra, shows up to help as well. As they have things fairly well in hand, John Constantine shows up. Apparently, feel a bit ripped off by Xanth, but so Constantine, Xanth, and Cassandra Cain deal with the source of all the trouble, the greater source of the troubles, and Cassandra ends up sucked into the spirit world, and that is where the issue ends. I've said this before. I've the first few Lazarus Planet one shots really did get me thinking that the whole thing was more as a follow up to it was more about setting the status, setting up story post Dark Crisis stories, and the more I read them, I was like, yeah, that's clearly what's going on. Be it relaunched books or new directions for existing titles. Yeah. Moving on to our next book, we've got Lazarus Planet: Next Evolution. So we open with the Vigil, sort called the Vigil, focusing on Red Hood. So he was tracking someone who tried to sell some Lazarus resin in Gotham, but the courier had backup, a lot of it, and Red Hood continued his chase, ended up on a boat, makes his way into the boat, and sees everyone on board dead. But then something happened whatever happened really quick. But he ends up dealing with a pair of meta-humans who are equally skilled. They escape the boat, and along with a third, basically they're on the same side. Their uses for the Lazarus resin is not bad, and they explain they are the Vigil, and that they're watching Red Hood. That is where the story ends. Next up, we got a story featuring Flatline. So Flatline was introduced in the recently wrapped up Robin series. She was one of the contestants of the Lazarus contest on Lazarus Island, and her and Robin kind of sort of started dating. That said, she's now a newly minted Tokyo crime boss. Because, hey, Damien can pick him, right? But she's been hearing a voice. The voice seems to know her. She, generally speaking, she can see and hear dead people. But, yeah, now she's hearing a voice that's calling her name in particular. She follows it to a house in one of the warehouse districts, busts her way into the house, ends up having to fight Ubu, who's feeling a bit depressed because he failed Ra's al Ghul. Ra's, if you'll recall, was killed in the beginning of the Shadow War crossover between Batman and Deathstroke Incorporated. However, Talia told Ubu to wait for Flatline to arrive, and there's some League of Assassin Ninjas attack. They appear to all have gotten an upgrade because of the Lazarus Rain, and during the fight she takes them on, and but Flatline finds her target, an urn. Get a little bit more of her origin. Her grandfather died. He was apparently a Soviet serial killer, and upon his death, Flatline discovered she was a metahuman when she absorbed his unique skill set as he lay dying, and she got disowned. Left Russia, found a kindred spirit with Lord Deathman, who took her under his wing, taught her how to use a lot of powers. He was scamming her. Then came the Lazarus tournament, meeting Damien. But apparently, she explains that they laugh a lot, and he treats her nicely. We'll see how long that lasts. Lazarus Storm brought her the doorstep of the demon's head, so she can fulfill her true purpose, which she understands now. She did get new powers after all. Death called, she answered. Ra's al Ghul was on the other line. But Raish's spirit basically says to her, that after to forgive Ubu, he's been unwell since Raish's death, and apparently they have Raish and her have much to discuss. Next up, we've got Deadeye. Deadeye is an operative of Amanda Waller's. Amanda Waller's also her nephew. But he has telepathic abilities, and the two of them often play chess on the astral plane. Waller's still on Earth 3, but apparently Everyman has been sent after. Everyman was a metahuman created by Lex Luthor. He is able to mimic the powers of others, usually does so by eating other metahumans to gain their, or at least eating parts of them. Sometimes it'll just be a bit of hair, but yeah. So every man's considered Deadeye, and the Lazarus Rains enhance Deadeye's Everyman's abilities, and turns out that Waller sent Everyman after her, and it's an open contract, so it's suggested that Deadeye take down Everyman permanently. Takes him down, but not on a permanent basis. Because we cannot help him, actually. Finally, we have a Red Red Canary story. So Red Canary has turns out a little bit more info on her. She's a college student. She had a test, a chemistry test. But her brother texts her to say that things are going kind of crazy down at the market, the river market. She knows that rain's normal for Seattle, but green rain not so much. So she sees what's going on, suits up, and calls Sideways, who helped her out, who worked with her during Dark Crisis, and they just kind of he basically just, teleports the statuary that's come to life away, but then she's attacked by an octopus, a gum monster basically attacks Sideways. She freezes the gum, which allows Sideways to get out, and he heads back to school for his for trig. And but he did give her some advice. So if she's having trouble trying to figure out what to do with her life, maybe ask herself, what would Black Canary do? And it seems this is the beginning of her journey. It's since been revealed that when Green Arrow relaunches later this year, Red Canary will be part of the book's cast. So presumably she's heading to Star City. And she worked well with her. She got to meet and work with her idol during Black Canary during Dark Crisis, and that seemed to go well. So anyway, moving on to our next book, we have Lazarus Planet Omega. This wraps up the Lazarus Planet story, but story arc, and of course, leaving plot threads for others. So, King Fireball is opting to take Earth's magic for himself. Meanwhile, Zatanna is trying to work on getting all of basically get all the magic users their powers back, or at least all those whose magic was stolen by the Devil Nezha, King Fireball's father. That said, because King Fireball is holding Alice, the Zatanna's attempt at bringing Alice to her aren't working because Fireball's kind of keeping her in place. Then the Justice League shows up, but then something strange happens and their powers get kind of jumbled around. Flash gets super strength. Superman, Clark, gets Martian Manhunter's telepathy. Actually, it might be both him and John. Robin gets Superman's heat vision. Black Alice does what she can to return everyone's powers, sending the Spectre after King Fireball. But it seems like it's likely to kill her. Meanwhile, the Devil Nezha has managed to take control of Batman, and Batman has defeated Supergirl and Swamp Thing. Members of the League managed to maybe not entire, at least kind of keep King Fireball occupied for a minute. Alice manages to redistribute powers in some cases, and the Devil Nezha heads out to possessing the body of Batman. And convinces King Fireball that absorbing all of Earth's magic into oneself is a fool's goal, concocted far too hastily. The energy of this formula can never be controlled, not by King Fireball, not by anyone, but it can be directed. Then Spectre shows up, deals with King Fireball. All the magic users have their magics back. King Fireball is stopped. But it seems that Alice is gone. Though she appears to be elsewhere, not just presumably on another realm. But Batman shows up and tells Damien that everyone is accounted for or will be soon. Though he's still under the possession of King Fireball. We get more of the history of Neja and King Fireball. Also included in his history, while Neja trained King Fireball, eventually King Fireball found a mother box. Fought some parademons, fought Calabac. Tried to pick up Darkseid, and Neja left him to help. And this is the point where Neja takes on the form that we've largely seen for the more demonic form. But Chief of Pigsy is telling Monkey Prince all this, and Monkey Prince is developing a plan to deal with King Fireball, and that is where the issue ends. So Lazarus Planet was pretty good. It's also stated in the Damien and Batman story that that thread will be picked up in Batman vs. Robin #5, which comes up next month. Because hey, can't do 5 issues in 5 months in a row. You got to take a month off, okay, for to do an entirely separate story. 2 months actually. Actually, no. I think that Batman vs. Robin dropped at the beginning of January. So, but still, yeah, 2 months off because it's still going to be like early March when that comes out. So yeah. Moving on though to our last book for the moment, we've got DCeased War of the Undead Gods #6. Where we left off, Erebos had infected Mr. Mixolydic and Green Lantern Kilowog's homeworld of Bullock Vic was destroyed in front of our assembled heroes through Mixolydic's deeds. So this issue begins with Lobo being hired to save the universe. And he's kind of like, why? Though it's pointed out that, he kind of, exists in this universe, so if it gets destroyed, he's probably going to be destroyed too. But he'll get a century of debauchery, and yeah. So he opts to save the stupid universe. Superman does what he can to comfort Kyle Rayner and before he goes after Darkseid. Well, there's still the matter of the Spectre fighting Giant Mixolydic, who is killing Green Lanterns left and right. Back on Earth 2, the Justice League is planning what to do with apparently the help of Mr. Miracle and Big Barda. But the mother box that Brainiac had, or that Scott Free has, it's still connected, and so yeah. The Undead Gods have arrived. Orion, Highfather, Light Ray. Superman, John Kent, tells his mom to evacuate everyone while Green Canary, Superman, Cyborg, and Mary Marvel deal with the inbound Undead. During all of this, Leslie Tompkins is... Maxima also shows up, but Leslie Tompkins gets injured during the evacuation attempt, and Alfred promises to save her. Damian, Batman, attempts to help. But the Spectre manages to stop Mixolydic with assist from Superman, but the Spectre is still destroyed in the process, and Superman holds Jim Corrigan's hand as he passes. The evacuation is continuing on Earth 2, but and Green Arrow informs Batman of Highfaller's arrival. Batman attacks Highfaller and gets quite the one punch from Highfaller, which leads Alfred to snap. As he does so, the Spectre finds its new mortal anchor, Alfred Pennyworth. And the Spectre basically punches through Highfaller's head. And that is where the issue ends. Okay, I'm liking the idea of Alfred as the anchor for the Spectre. That's a nice touch. Didn't see that. Did not expect that. But I mean, DCeased has been a great run so far. I'm looking forward. I think War of the Undead Gods is supposed to be the overall wrap up of the DCeased saga. Anyway, that's going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.